Say if you have just designed a website, a UI component or a UI card. I said say if. I know you have not done anything. Lazy fellow. Go! Lazy. Now most of us don't use an iPhone like you do. We have different phones with different sizes. Some others use an iPad, again with different size. Others will use a laptop, different size. Now it's your duty to make your designs responsive. What I mean by that? Whenever the width increased or decreased, height increased or decreased, your designs has to be responsive. I mean the components have to move, elongate, stretch and make sure that they are at the positions that you want it to be. How do I do that? 20 minutes and we are done. Let's go! So here I have just designed a card of this shoe product which you and I cannot afford. Be honest, we are poor. At least I am poor. Okay, so my task here is nothing but I have to make it responsive. What I mean by that? Whenever the width is increased or decreased or the height is increased or decreased, I have to make sure all these components are like stretched or this component is moved to the right and the image section, the width has been increased but the image has to be fixed with the same size. I don't want it to be stretched but has to be at the center. And even with these buttons, they have to be stretched but the text has to be at the center. So that is my task. And how do we do that? So we'll do that using auto layouts. Super. Now follow my cursor over here, this big pointer over here. I can be over here, 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 here. Lame. So right now this card consists of this image section which have this rated tag and this image, the shadow, this text over here and this buttons. So whenever you are doing a responsive design, make sure that you just divide your design or the component or the card into multiple sections. What I mean by that? I can see that I can divide this card into 3 sections. One, the image part, this can be a section for itself, and this text over here, like this can be a section, and these 2 buttons can be a section itself. So we have this top section, mid section and the bottom section or the bottom part. Now the flow is nothing but we will start making each section responsive. So first we make these buttons responsive like this section, and the mid section we make it responsive and the top part we make it responsive. And after that what? We combine all those things and make the whole design responsive. Sorry. So as I said, I start with the buttons because I always hate these toppers. Let's go with the bottom. So right now this is a button. First we create auto layouts and make responsive for each component. So we'll go with this auto layout. Follow my cursor as I said. And now we don't talk about this hug, fixed, this constraints, layouts, gap, padding and all those things. Why? Because I don't want to. No, we have already done that in the previous chapter, mastering auto layouts. Go watch that first because you're not eligible right now to watch more into this video without the first video. Go now. Okay. So now I've gone with this hug and hug. You know what hug and hug is, right? And I'll leave the text to be at the center. And this layout does not matter because there's only one component inside this button or the layout. And there you go. I'll leave the padding as it is. So whenever the width is increased or decreased, there you go. The text is at the center. Super. And same with this button. I'll go with this auto layout and make both hug and hug. Again, layout does not matter. So be at the center and there you go. It is responsive. Now as I said, these two becomes a part or a section for itself. So select these 2 components, add to bag and favorite button and create a new auto layout. And what happened? The moment you create an auto layout by selecting more than one component or one element, Figma creates a new frame or this frame 1. There you go, frame 1. A new frame is created, the parent auto layout, and inside that we have this 2 child auto layouts, the add to bag button and the favorite button. Now how do I make this section responsive? So I'll go with this, they have to be the center. Should I leave it hug and hug? Let's leave it hug and hug. And I will go with this horizontal layout because they are side to side. Now let's say the width is increased. It is kind of responsive because both the buttons are like at the center still. But I don't want that. I want it to be like spread or stretched over throughout the width. So can I do that? Let's go with this auto. So when I go with auto and increase the width, there you go. They're like fixed and the gap between them is also variable. One will be at the complete left and the other one will be at the complete right, depending on the width of the frame or the section. But I want the width of this button also to be increased, like that it has to be stretched. And making sure the gap is like 69. Nice. Fixed. I don't want it to be like auto. It has to be fixed with this number. How can we do that? Go watch the previous video. So we'll go with this add to bag and we'll go with this fill. So it has to fill the complete width. And the height, I leave the height to hug because I don't want the height to be like stretched. I want only the width, not the height. So I'll again go with this favorite button and now I'll change it to fill. Now the moment I select this parent auto layout or the section frame and increase the width, there you go. Responsive. The width is increasing of each button and the text is at the center itself and the gap is fixed to 69 because we love it. Nice number. Yeah. So there you go. This is fill and this is gone with this fill, and this frame one is an auto layout itself, center and all those things. So there you go, responsive. Now done. This section part is done. I'll just make it to pack. Now coming to this mid section over here, we have these three components in this. Now you may be thinking I'll just select these three text, create an auto layout and boom, done. No. In auto layout, there's an option called vertical layout, horizontal layout and wrap. Wrap is kind of complex. I don't want to go with this wrap because we are just beginners. We don't want it to be complex, right? We hate that. So in a simple way, in this mid section, we can create two sections. How? I can select this men's shoes and this Nike Air one. These two are like vertically placed. So I'll create an auto layout for these two things and I'll keep it vertical layout. Yes, I'll go with this left, align left. And same, do I want it to be auto? Like whenever the height is increased, do I want it to be a variable? No, leave it to 88. So now I have this one frame or one auto layout over here. Now again I can select this section over here and this 143, I'll love you to, and create a new auto layout because inside that now we'll have these two sections which are like horizontally placed, and inside one child auto layout we'll have this two text which are like vertical layout. So there you go. Yeah, they have to be horizontal layout, and should the text has to be the center or top, I'll go with bottom. Now the gap between this section and this one, auto. What if I go with this fixed, and whenever the width is decreased or increased, there you go, there's no change. So that's the reason we'll go with auto. So whenever the width is increased or decreased, this part or this element is like to the right itself and this one is at the left, but the gap is like increasing and decreasing based on the width. So auto. Now done. This is responsive and this became responsive. Now the amazing part or the main part, the image section. And here in this layers I have this one rated or this tag. I'll create an auto layout for that. Yes, it has to be horizontally placed because two elements horizontal at the center, super awesome, and the gap has to be fixed. I don't want any auto. If I want, I can go with auto. There you go. Do I want that? And I'll keep it 27. Sure. Now done. Okay, this tag is done. Now coming to the next part, I'll select this image, the shadow, create an auto layout because why not? Now yes, they have to be vertical layout, but the gap over here, I'll just go with minus 20. Shadow, right, has to be under it. Now we have this image section, and inside that we have this one child auto layout and the second child auto layout. Now talking about this auto layout or this image section, whenever the width is increased, there you go, the image of the shoe is like stretching and elongating. Why is that? Because we have gone with this fill. I don't want that. I want the shoe to be fixed of fixed width and fixed height. So we'll go with this shoe image and go with this fixed width and fixed height. So whenever the width of the frame is increased, it is fixed, no change. That's what we want. I mean, that's what I want. I don't know what is your constraints. The next part, if you have observed, the gap between this rated section and this image part is like -743. But when I go with this image section, create an auto layout, it can either be like vertical layout or horizontal layout. I want the original one. So you may be thinking it's easy. I'll just change it to -10 or negative padding. And there you go. Done. That's it. Responsive. There you go. It is not responsive. Not with the height. Why? Because I have to select this frame and give this fill. And there you go. Responsive with the height and width as well. There is another thing we can do. Whenever you just select this image section and go with an auto layout, the gap is like can be vertical, horizontal. I said we can go with negative and it is also responsive. But there may be cases that this part, okay, this tag or this button has to be inside this auto layout, but should not follow the constraints. I mean, the width should not be increased or the height should not be increased. It has to be fixed over there at that position, and it has to not follow these constraints that you have given, like the 0 and all those things. It has to not follow. Even this layout, it has to not follow. This thing has to be on its own, but inside this auto layout. How can we do that? We can do that because who is teaching, man? So select the one you want. It should be inside the auto layout, but should not follow the rules. You can go with this icon over here, which says ignore auto layout. So hit that, and there you go. We are back to original. The gap between these two are like, there's no gap because it is not following any auto layouts, and I can go with the constraints I want. And is it responsive? Yes, it is. Super. This part is still inside the auto layout, but it is ignoring the values or constraints that you have given for this parent auto layout. Super again. So there you go. This is responsive with the height and width as well. Go with the original thing. And this section is also responsive. There you go. Super. And this one is also responsive. So 3 sections. We divided into 3 sections. Made each section responsive. Super. Now the final part. Combine them all. Like how? We will select the main card over here and create an auto layout. Boom. Done. And we'll go with this vertical layout because they're like on top of each other. I'll go with this auto. Nah, I'll go with this fixed. I want the same gap. So right now the gap between each element, I mean, it is like constant, right? 184. But there will be cases like I want the gap between these two to be like 200 and the gap between these two be like 224. Different gaps. So can we do that? Of course. When you want different gaps, you can just select these two. I'll just undo the auto layout. You can select these 2 sections, create an auto layout for itself, and now this becomes the new parent auto layout. Select that, go with this, create a new one. So right now I can increase the gap or decrease the gap, and these 2 will be like on its own. Boom. But and I'll go with the same padding. So same gap 184 for 3 of them. Super awesome. Now is it responsive? Let's check it out. With width, yeah, it is responsive with the width and the height. It is not. Why? Because for this we have not given any fill for the height. I want it to be fixed. I'll tell you why. I'll go with this first section. There you go. It is with fixed height. I want it to be fill. And now we'll check it again. So with the width, it is good, awesome, and with the height, there you go. It is again good, awesome. Because if I select this and go on with fill, you can see that, right? And same with this section, the buttons, I don't want the height to be fill. It's like, you can do if you want. I'll just select this child auto layouts and go with this fill and fill. There you go. Do you want that? Do you? Hey, undo, 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 undo. So the height has to be hug or fixed even with this. But this, it has to be responsive. So fill and fill of the height. Now select the main auto layout. And there you go. Responsive. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sorry. Now, are we done? Mostly. Stay with me. So right now it is very good. And till this width, it is very good. I mean, it is very good looking and awesome. But if I go like width is like less than that, it's like ew. And can we rectify that? Of course you can. You can give minimum width and minimum height. So right now till this width, it's awesome. It's like good looking and awesome. So I can give this minimum width of 2898 and even with the height. So let's say till this point it's good. So I can again add this, add minimum height of 2813. So there you go. We have just added this minimum width and minimum height. So I cannot reduce more than that because we have given the minimum value. And there you go. We can also give this maximum width and maximum height if you want. But nah, it is like infinite. So there you go. Responsive. Sorry again. I want it like this. Super. I can go with that. Do I want like this? I can go with that. Do I want it to be with more width? I can go with that. Any layout, any size, the design still looks awesome. So that's about today. We learned about doing responsive designs using auto layouts. In the part 1, we have learned about mastering auto layouts. You have known what is this fig, hugs, and fill container. We have learned about this layouts, gap, paddings, even with this one, strokes, stacking, and all those things. Now just don't go to incognito. Open your Figma app and start making your design responsive. See you then. Bye.